Hello everyone, it is I, the Witch of Paint. This week I bring you a quick painting I made of a mother cow with her baby calf. The reference for this painting is a picture I took when the cows of a farmer we know quite well were very close to our garden fence. They were so adorable and I took lots of pictures because having the cows this close is quite rare for us. And I do plan on painting more of them cows because I got some really great pictures out of the encounter. If I remember, I will show some pictures here that I might, use for future paintings. Now, the painting I am doing today is going to be of a calf drinking milk from its mother. And if you are wondering why I don't sketch out the whole cows, like why does the mum have some of her head missing, for example, that is simply because of the high grass that the cows were standing in. It was just covering her face, so I couldn't even see the rest of the cow head, so I didn't bother sketching it out. This painting didn't really take me all that long. Like I said, it was going to be a very quick one. But it is still very, very beautiful and adorable, if you ask me, so, that's why I'm sharing it. Now, I was thinking of talking about an Irish cow-related myth, and I stumbled upon a story in my fairy tale book titled The Cattle Raid of Cooley, or Tain Bo Cuailgne, and I thought I'd read through it and talk to you all about this Irish legend. Turns out, though, this is quite a bit longer than I thought at the start, and it isn't even the full story, I think, so I will not be able to talk about the entirety of this legend in this video. There's a lot of killing in the story as well, which I will probably skip over because I don't really like reading about killing people, Instead, let's try to focus on some of the lore of the story itself, at least, the beginnings of it. Because the sort of language that the story is written in is sort of old-timey and my brain can't handle old-timey English all that well, so it takes me a few reads and, looking into the internet to be able to understand it. And there were so many names to remember as well, and they all sort of started with the same letter. You'll notice that in a moment, but I was a little bit thrown into it, of course, because before this story that is in the book, there are other stories, like smaller stories, I believe, that explain the background of the characters, and I don't have a book with them at the moment. So, yeah. I haven't read those as of yet. I need to find myself a book about the whole Ulster cycle thing, which is where the Cattle Raid of Cooley is from. So the story is within the Ulster cycle, which focuses on the deeds of the Ulster king and his nephew Chulainn mac Sultan. Complicated Irish names here, and I shall do my best to pronounce them. Now, if you're wondering where Ulster is, it lies in Northern Ireland, I believe, and it's one of the 4 traditional Irish provinces. The story in the book focuses on the king and queen of Connacht. The king's name is Ailill and the queen is called Maeve. The two had been comparing the wealth of each other and found that Ailill is only a little bit richer than his wife because he had a very special bull in his herd called Finbinac, which used to be a part of Maeve's herd, but switched upon realizing that he was owned by a woman and couldn't have that. Sexist cattle. So Maeve now doesn't have a herd that is equal to that of her husband's, and she gets jealous and decides she'll try and obtain the Dun Bull of Cooley. At first she had made a deal with the man who owned the bull to let it be borrowed to her for a year, but then her messengers get drunk and revealed to him that Maeve's plan was to take the bull by force if she wasn't allowed to borrow it. The deal broke down as a result, obviously, and Maeve raised an entire army in response. I think the book refers to that as a hosting, and I was very confused while I was reading. I was like, host? Isn't that like a person that's like hosting a party or something? I got really confused. But I do think that in the context of the story, host was referring to the army rather than someone that's like running a party or something. So then Ailill sends out messengers to the other three provinces. Some exiled Ulster heroes join them, and also Cormac Conlungus McConquebare, oh my gosh, they really like names of sea, joins them, who had 300 men that were temporarily like living in Connacht. They started their journey on Samhain, so the start of November, southeast from Cúailnge, which I am not sure where that exactly is. I have found a map of Queen Maeve's journey on Twitter, which, you know, might not be the most reliable of sources, but it was the only one I could find at the moment. But, you know, let's just roll with it. I kind of sort of found a map there. I'm not entirely sure if it makes much sense, but, you know, it's there if you want to look at it. Now, anyways, thanks to a curse that is on the Ulster Kingdom, all that is standing in the way of King Ailill and Queen Maeve of Connacht is a young demigod and hero of the Ulstermen, Cuchulainn, who is 17 years old during the story, and he's the son of the Irish god Lugh, which grants him super strength and overhuman fighting skills. He's got a cool javelin, and the fairy tale book gladly recounts his boyish deeds, which he started out at 5 years old, beating like 50 kids in a like wrestling match kind of deal, if I kind of understood that story correctly. Like I said, I struggle a little bit understanding stories that are written in not so modern English, you know, but he also wrestled a hound that was supposed to protect the cattle of his parents. He did kill the dog, which is sad, and then his parents, I don't remember if it was mum or dad, but they were like, okay, great, now we need a new hound, and he was like, no, it's okay, I'll be the hound for you. Just imagine a 7-year-old going up to you saying he's gonna be the dog to protect the cattle. Sorry, this is not funny. Well, it kind of is a little bit, but it's just a shame for the dog, you know? Now, the point where the story starts in the book is where Maeve is going into a meeting with her husband, obviously, and some other men. And she was like, okay, the Leinstermen should not come with us because I think they're going to betray us and kill everyone. So this was off to a great start. Queen Maeve also meets a prophetess at some point. I'm not entirely sure when exactly she meets her, because the book itself isn't very clear on that. They do have the section where she does meet the prophetess, but it's sort of positioned in the book before the story's events are set in order, and there's only like a small space in brackets that's going like, okay, so some people say that her conversation was happening here with the prophetess. I don't know, it's a little bit confusing, but I am doing my best to make sense of it. They end up spreading the Leinstermen out within the rest of the army before continuing the journey. Now, the first time Cuchulainn does something in the story, he realises how close the army is to their land, so the Ulsterland, and asks Lugh, his companion, I think, to try and count how many there are. Lugh goes out to spy out how many there are, but comes back and says, I'm confused, I don't know how many there are. And so Cuchulainn goes to count them as well, and he comes back and goes, okay, there's 18 countries, but the 18th is divided among the rest of the army, so I can't exactly say how many of those there are, but there's 18 countries. Now, you know, this is quite a lot longer than I can fit into this video, so take this as a part 1. And for more details, you know, I'll also have a book and some articles linked below that can tell you more about this legend. I will eventually read through the rest of it. I might have kind of like skipped to the end a little bit just to see how it was going to end, because I was curious and I was kind of hoping that it wasn't going to end on the lines of, yeah, they all died in the end, no biggie. Without saying too much, I mean, there's a lot of dead people in the story, but in the end it does end happily, at the very least. Anyways, let's talk about my painting a little bit, you know? I was using my Van Gogh watercolour palette for this, and no, I have not yet swatched them out. Well, technically, I would have swatched them out by the time this video comes out, but at the time of me recording, they haven't been swatched out. So I'm having to recount this from memory. The mother cow I first coated in a light layer of burnt sienna for a sort of base colour for her. There are darker patches on her, especially towards the back, and for that I used sepia, I think. The little cow's shading was done in a mix of Payne's grey and indigo. Of course, I'm going from light to dark, adding the shadows bit by bit to show the muscles and bones of the cows. Well, they're not really the bones, just the muscles, you know, different folds, everything. The mother cow doesn't get her mouth, mainly because the grass is gonna be there. I just didn't paint that in from the start, obviously. I paint the grass last. But, you know, I promise this will make sense in the end. I know it looks weird at the start. It did look a little weird to me as well. I was just looking at it and going like, I kind of feel like painting the rest of it, but I can't exactly see it in the reference either, so what does it matter? This is actually like the third or fourth time I've painted cows. Like the first time was like a year ago. That picture I gave away to my cousin and I didn't take a photograph of the painting. Unfortunately, I do have a reel of it on Instagram. You just have to find it. And then the second time was the Taurus fairy, I think. Yeah, that was the bull that I painted there. That was the second time I painted a cow or bull-like creature. Third time was the sort of afternoon I spent outside in the garden, where I was just sketching and basically doodling the cows. Some of them don't even look like they would be cows, so somewhere I looked at them and was like, looks more like a dog, but who cares? And I guess this is the fourth time. Anyways, would you guys, be interested to see me paint more cows and perhaps dive a little bit deeper into the lore of the Cattle Raid of Cooley? I certainly would love to dive deeper into it once I, read the whole story and read it through it more than just once to just gain a bit of a better understanding of it. I mean, me writing down the names themselves has helped me for the script, It has helped me make a little bit of sense, at least with the names that were constantly being mentioned, and so I kind of now remember who's who a little bit. But yeah, I would love to keep talking about this to you and talk about the other things that happened on this journey. Maybe skip over all the killings and just focus on the nice stuff. But yeah, I would love to go into that deeper. I would also love to paint some other farm animals as well. Maybe some sheep. I mean, I am an island, so it feels like I should paint some sheep at some point, but I am yet to come across a sheep that's close up and posing in a nice way, Oh well, but considering that it is summer and at least some parts of Ireland do get nice and warm weather, maybe I will one day find some sheep to paint and fulfill my dream of making a sheep painting. Or maybe, even though, I do have pictures of sheep, I'm just, I guess, procrastinating by telling myself those aren't good enough pictures to draw sheep. I should just stop procrastinating painting sheep because I kind of do want to do that. So, anyways, the cows should be fully painted by now, and I do add a little grass below them, not fully around them, of course, just immediately below them to show that the grass is quite high there and that it's covering their feet and the head of the mum as well. And then, because the painting was kind of lacking a little something, I take my brush and I add in a couple of blue stripes with cerulean blue, just to add a little something in the background that isn't a full-on detailed background that's going to distract from the actual cows. Just a couple of random lines here and there just to indicate that the sky is there. I know in the original picture there's actually no sky immediately behind the cows, but for the sake of putting the focus on the cows, that's what I decided to go with. It's just personal preference, I suppose. I could have painted the field behind them and the bushes and everything, but I chose not to because, I don't know, it would have taken too much away from the painting itself, I think. And then I can sign the painting and move on to the final result. So let's let you all look at that, huh? I absolutely adore this picture. I mean, it didn't take that long to paint, obviously, but I absolutely adore how it came out either way. You don't always need to spend hours and hours on a painting, and it was kind of refreshing to just do something quick and still have it look nice. And I adore the baby calf. The baby calf is everything to me. I love it. I absolutely adore it. It's so cute and sweet, and I wish I could hug it. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, subscribe to my channel, and leave a nice comment about cows down below. Have a look at the sources down in the description, and of course check out my Instagram, Twitter, and my Twitch account, where I will stream regularly. For the time being, I am the Witch of Paint, and I shall see you all next Sunday. Bye! Oh look, you've made it to the end of this video. Well done! I shall reward you with outtakes that mostly consist of me trying to pronounce Irish names, but doing it wrong. Have fun! Now, the not the baby, the painting! This Cormiconlongus McConco bear. Ah! I don't know if I did that right. Cormiconlongus. Can't! Why?